final reckoning for the poster child of China's property crisis. Evergrande has been ordered to liquidate after it failed to convince Hong Kong's High Court that it is moving forward with its restructuring plan. Trading in Evergrande shares suspended in Hong Kong after plunging 21% ahead of the hearing. Judge Linda Chan approved a petition by creditors and issued the winding up order. She noted the lack of progress in putting forward a viable proposal to restructure more than $300 billion in liabilities. Now the court is scheduled to hold a session this afternoon on a regulating order, which typically leads to the appointment of a liquidator as part of the winding up process. So what happens next? The appointed liquidator takes control of the developer's assets and prepares to sell them. The proceeds would then be used to repay its debts. Now, if Evergrande has enough assets, the liquidators would propose a new restructuring plan for offshore bondholders. And the company's affairs would be scrutinized. Any suspected misconduct would be referred to prosecutors. Judge Linda Chan says the winding up order would lead to management being replaced. But the question is, will a Hong Kong liquidation order be recognized on the mainland? A cross-border agreement enacted in 2021 says yes, but the regime is only recognized in 3 Chinese cities, and implementation has been rather slow. To discuss more on the implications of the liquidation, we are now joined by Tommy Wu. He is senior economist at Commerzbank. Tommy, good to have you with us today on our show. What are your views on the ruling? It seems to me like, the company has itself to blame. This case has been going on for more than 1.5 years.
Yes, indeed. I think the Hong Kong court order today, it's more or less expected, and it is only a matter of when this would happen. As you said, the offshore creditors have not been able to agree or accept the restructuring plans offered by Evergrande for at least 1 year and maybe perhaps more than that. So there are a few things. Now, I think in the near term, maybe the short-term impact isn't that big. But perhaps down the road, obviously, any bad news would hurt the ongoing housing slump in the Chinese markets. But the actual impact would depend on how the liquidation process will proceed. Perhaps in the worst case, Beijing will probably have to step in.
Okay, let's go back to the impact a little later on. But this really is a test case for the 2021 arrangement on cross-border insolvency procedures that Hong Kong decisions need to be recognized on the mainland. Is it clear that mainland courts will actually accept Hong Kong's winding up order?
So it is actually not very clear because there hasn't really been that many cases where this arrangement has been enacted or used. So And as you said, because Hong Kong and mainland China are 2 different jurisdictions, so this time around, this will be a challenge. So in the case that if the court, if a court in mainland China, there's no court in mainland China that actually recognizes this Hong Kong court case, then perhaps there are limited things that the provisional liquidator in Hong Kong can do. But otherwise, if there is a court in mainland China that actually does recognize this court case, then still, I think this will still be a long drawn-out process.
So mainland authorities have so far prioritized the completion of unfinished projects by developers. So how much would you think that Evergrande's offshore creditors will actually get back?
Yeah, that's a very important question because now, in case that if in the better case scenario where actually a court in mainland China will recognize this court order, still because a lot of the Evergrande's projects involved a lot of its local subsidiaries, involves a lot of local governments, local authorities. So a lot of the economic and also political considerations we'll have to take into account. And so it's actually going to be a very complex process for the liquidator to handle. And this will, even if they can handle it, it'll take a long time, months or years.
So for our viewers out there, so the Hong Kong liquidator will take control of Evergrande's assets outside of China, including Hong Kong listed subsidiaries. but creditors really would stand a very slim chance of making an effective claim onshore.
That's right, because yes, the liquidator can obviously take control of the assets in Hong Kong, but then most of the assets of Evergrande are actually sitting onshore inside mainland China. So if the liquidator does not have the power, because if the court order is not recognized in mainland China, then there's only limited things that they can do in that case.
How do you see today's ruling affecting the broader Chinese property market?
So I think probably in the near term, not a lot. But as I said, this at the end of the day, this is a bad news, and so perhaps any bad news would be basically not good for the Chinese, the ongoing housing slump, because the sentiment in the property market has been fragile. A lot of that has to do with the fact that a lot of developers have been defaulting and were unable to complete their housing projects. So this is going to have an impact in terms of creating some kind of worries over whether more developers will suffer from the same problem, and also perhaps would there be implications with regard to property developers financing.
Tommy, very good to talk to you, and thank you for that analysis. That was Tommy Wu, Senior Economist at Commerzbank.